Hi, welcome to 5 Minutes with Shaun, maybe 10 special edition. We've got the Shaun and Shaun show going on here. Welcome in my friend Shaun Rains. First time to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm glad we finally made this happen. We've been trying, and now we're here.
We've been talking about it for a while.
We have been. We have
a year.
A year. Since, well, we might as well just start there. You brought it up,
You're
so
gonna
we'll
break
start
the
there.
seal?
Yeah, we're just gonna, because I wanted to talk to you about that, and obviously when you and I met a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the new kind of dealer laydown situation. We'll get into that.
Okay.
But I want to start with the non-compete. The reason that we but the reason that we connected further than we had in the past is because we have a shared experience of being a part of a non-compete.
This is true.
So you tell me, how, without sounding like your therapist, how did the non-compete make you feel, Shaun? When it all happened, were you aware that it was something you had to worry about when leaving, or is it something that happened once you left, someone brought it to your attention, and it sort of hit you like a ton of bricks?
Okay, that's a multi-part question.
It is.
You know, when we first met, actually, I was working at that company.
Yes.
That enforced the non-compete.
Yes.
So that's when we first met.
Yeah.
So how did I feel? Surprised, because part of your question, in my case, I didn't know that I had a non-compete.
Okay.
So I had reached out even to my previous boss and said, hey, it could be a situation. I don't want there to be a situation. Do I have a non-compete? And he was like, nah, you're good. I'm like, okay. So I kind of moved forward with an opportunity, and then within, it probably felt like days, maybe it was a couple weeks, I was notified. You get a little special package. Yeah, a couple phone calls, and then something that comes.
I blew the phone calls off.
Overnight, express mail, or
with a lawyer's signature on it and stamps and shit.
And it just quickly went from. So how did I feel about it? I was shocked, really disappointed, and I was angry about it for a long time. Like, I'm not gonna play around. I was pissed about it, mostly because I didn't know it existed. There was never a conversation, and I shot a little video on what's going on with Shaun, which for anybody watching this video is like, you haven't done very many of those. I'm like, I've been busy.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, so I commend you for like keeping up with it. But I shot a video shortly after that had really started to unfold. It was my way of wanting to kind of do a public service announcement about the experience. Sure. Because for me, not knowing still wasn't, like, you can't plead ignorance of the law, right? And in this particular case, I couldn't say, well, I didn't know. So there was a document with my signature on it that said you can't compete, you can't solicit, you can't do, it was very comprehensive for, in my case, it was a 12-month period. Yep. But not knowing that, it was very shocking. And then it made me upset because I think some of the things that you and I have talked about privately, non-compete to me meant I understand, first of all, why they would want me to compete with. I understood that in principle. Sure. I get it. What nobody knew, because no conversation like this ever took place, was Are your intentions to actually come and harm us and steal all of our clients and do all these things, which would have been, did you not ever know me?
Right, it's an easy discussion. Like, I'm just leaving the job.
Yeah,
like, that's all that this is. I have found a route, fits me better, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it was shocking. It was disappointing. It made me really kind of go back and think, well, when did I sign it? Which I couldn't even remember when I signed it. For in my case, and the reason why I shot my little "What's Going On with Shaun" kind of public service announcement was I wanted to at least tell people, if you're moving into a job where a non-compete or a non-solicitation agreement is necessary, pay attention, because in a lot of cases, I don't necessarily think it's deception every single time, but maybe in some cases it is. That whole employee packet of paperwork
that you just jammed through,
that you might have been sent to a conference room and, hey, fill out your new employee paperwork, and you sign all of it. you might have just signed something that is going to be of great consequence in your future. And if you're in a role, especially if you're in a sales related role, right? If you're in a role where you're doing a lot of business development for a company, they might want to protect themselves, and they may have a right to do so. But there should be some consideration, right, as to what's going to happen if you sign that non-compete. That consideration, in some case, lower level jobs, is your job itself. That's your consideration. We employ you. That's the consideration you get. In other cases, higher profile, if you're really somebody that the company would want to go after, there's probably some sort of compensation that would say, hey, you're not going to be able to compete. We're going to actually take you out of the industry, or at least out of this segment of the industry for this period of time. And what that's going to mean is, by the way, we're going to cut you a check, or this is going to happen, so that you know that. So as you were talking about, hey, well, what if I brought a bunch of business to that company, and that company is going to continue, right,
booking that business
because of what you did there? Well, you're not going to get any more of that, even though you move on to something else.
Correct.
A company that wants to give consideration to an employee like that, there actually is a way to tactfully and professionally do that for somebody that's of high value. Hey, Shaun, you're leaving, you're going to go on to other things. We knew you were going to spread your wings someday. When that day happens, you can't compete for this period of time, but also this is the consideration for that.
Well, yeah, but see, and that's why for you, I mean, your situation was a little bit different than mine, right? Because you were at the time still involved in that part of the world. So you were, when it happened, I remember you being in negotiations with a similar firm to the firm you
absolutely.
had left.
Yes.
So I get their concern, right? But for me, it was like, look, dude, I'm leaving a $1 billion operation to start the little guy on the chest here.
Right.
That's all. And so when they came knocking at my door, I thought two things. One, I'm pissed off. It's bullshit. I did nothing but treat you right for 2 years, excelled at sales goals, did everything you asked me to do, never asked for anything.
Yeah.
You gave me some bullshit 2% compensation supposed to keep me happy for a bonus, right? 2%. Like, keep it. Don't care. But the other was this idea that people were going to come to me and they were going to say, Shaun, your business is a concern to us. What? That's flattering.
Yeah.
It's flattering. It's a load of garbage. You just want to do it to be nasty, right? And I didn't. I said it before we went on air. I didn't take it seriously. It said, literally in writing, it said, you cannot call our clients. Dope. I never did that. All their clients, when I said I was leaving, they all called me.
Yeah, so in that circumstance, that's very, very different from mine. I mean, I accepted a job with a company that offered some directly competitive services.
Which, by the way, could still use your help. Jesus God, I could still use your help.
True,
but whatever.
True,
not what we're here for.
But I think people that are close to me, they know they've heard me say this, and now it's going to be completely public to anybody that watches this. So if you have a huge audience,
a couple thousand a week, but it's not going to be. It's not a.
Listen, it was probably better in when you're able to kind of look back, right? That whole hindsight being 2020. If it would have been able to go off without any hitch whatsoever, then I would be very interested to see, well, what would have that story looked like?
Sure.
But because it didn't, it's all still good. I understand why they were, hey, like, no, this isn't going to happen. I think the thing that was most disappointing for me was the dialogue and communication that did, and then all of it that didn't take place between people.
That should have. You didn't have to get the lawyers involved. We have enough of a personal relationship. You could have called me. We could have gone over this.
And
but their lawyer advised not to.
And in my situation, and I've told you this, but a lot of people didn't know, is when I was getting ready to leave that, I already had an idea of what I wanted to do. It wasn't to go to another company that offers similar services. I was already like, I'm kind of ready to do something a little different.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, there's some content out there where people were asking me like, well, so what made you not want to be back directly involved with websites and digital marketing business? It's like, because, and this is why I say it's probably all for the best. That is a very difficult space to compete in. It has been for years. And for the time that I was in it, I love competing in that space. There are a bunch of great website providers. There are a bunch of great digital marketing providers. But in most cases, especially websites, paid search you could throw in there, and then the rest of them, it just depends, so it falls off a little bit. But those two, can you think of a dealer that needs a new website provider because they don't have one? No. right? So
No.
every time you're going to go in and
Think
say,
of one that has a shitty.
you got to knock somebody out. You've got to prove that you are by far and away better. And
what
and,
they
and and in your world, right? Better means you're going to choose a new website provider. Why? Is it going to improve your business results?
Correct.
Can they demonstrate that their conversion rates are infinitely higher? Are they even 1% higher? Well, I don't know. They look better. Oh, so you're making a design change. You want your aesthetics of your website to be prettier than the ones you have.
Correct.
That could be a catastrophic bad move for you.
Oh yeah.
So the more
Yeah,
that I
just met one of
realized,
those this morning. Yeah,
I
trust me.
look back on what happened and I'm like, you know what? It was a little rough. Could have been handled differently. Probably could have been, Shaun, don't take our clients. We don't think you were going to anyway. Don't take our employees. We didn't think you would anyway because you're one of the guys that kind of is known as a nice dude in our business.
I mean, it is kind of how you're known, you know? People, when they talk about Shaun Rains, it's like, there's always something positive to be said. I always envy that about you because I know that's not what happens when people walk away from talking to me.
Well, I appreciate you
But
saying that.
I love that that's what they do when they walk away from you. Like, this is
So,
a nice guy.
That could have been handled differently. All said and done, it worked out okay. It worked out fine.
You made lemonade out of lemons, boy, because now you got the dealer superhero thing, and it's just what you need, isn't it?
Dealer Superhero's been great. It's absolutely been, it was already a little bit of a labor of love because it was what I was trying to prepare. Actually, I was more interested in wanting to build something in power sports, perhaps a little bit of RV dealers, and picked up clients there as I was preparing for what was going to be next. And I don't want to put it on this video, but the story of really what happened that kind of disrupted this is why I'm going to leave my job that, really enjoyed, and it was good for me while I was there. But the reason why I was leaving there is because I was building something else. I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to work with motorcycle dealers and RV dealers. But the story of how that got interrupted was, most people don't really know that. I mean, and it was one of those things where you hope that if you've invested 20 years in a particular industry, that at least you'd get one or two of these opportunities where somebody would say, we've done our homework on you. We know your reputation. We know what you're capable of. Here is a really, really big offer. This is like, if you can do this for us, this is going to change your life kind of offer. So I would have been an idiot to say no, especially because it was, I want to help for a short period of time a company get to an objective that's going to, of course, be great for them, but it would be a great reward for me. That was a significant opportunity for me, and that's the reason why I said, okay, I want to do this. It didn't happen, wasn't meant to be, and yeah, I'm still standing. Well, technically sitting here.
Sitting now, but yes, you
good.
are standing when we're done here.
It's all good.
And you've come out the other side, so to close up the non-compete, your point to folks is don't just rush through the packet. Don't just put your initials on everything. If you're in a sales position, that's where I mainly find it. But if you're in sales and or above management, you're going to want to take a look and make sure that nothing you're signing is going to preclude you, or at least you know what will happen if you do leave.
Yeah, and be honest with what your value is within that organization, with that company, because there are a whole lot of jobs that might require a non-compete and or non-solicitation that are appropriate, and it's not going to harm you, right? But there are a handful of people in the industry that you better be really careful, depending on what you're wanting to accomplish in your future, what your goals might be. If you're thinking about where you want to be and where you plan to be in 3, 5, and 10, then anytime you're sitting down with a pack of paperwork for somebody for a significant job role, make sure you think through that, because you may need to negotiate, or you may need to just be very clear on what's there.
See, so that's how Shaun says it. I'll say it the other way. Non-disclosures are stupid, and you shouldn't use them. Plain and simple. I think it is a bully tactic for people who, once they want to leave somewhere, they're trying to be pulled back in, try to be convinced they can't leave because they can't work without people. As someone who was sued for $1 million, I can tell you that it's not fair to us, and all it does is worsen that relationship for the future, right? So I would never be able to bankrupt that company in any way, but I sure would go out of my way to help. Right. So, Shaun, last time I saw you, you said something very interesting. You were having your session at the last event I saw you at, and you had said something to the effect of the position has changed. Right. Yeah. The dealer is now the laydown. I believe were your words, not mine. But it resonated, man. I walked out and I turned to Jeff, my operations director, and I said, "That's it. That's what's happened." Elaborate on what you mean when you talk about that sort of change of position.
I should probably stop doing the whole public speaking thing. I've been doing it a long time.
Why?
And what happens is I spontaneously say shit like that.
That's why we do it. That's why
I'm kidding,
guys
I'm kidding.
like me, we glom on and
I'm
listen.
kidding.
Yeah.
That was completely spontaneous. That entire presentation was really to drill in on sales process. Part of what I'm doing now is really focused on solving problems that are perhaps more paramount than your next marketing vendor. So those comments, while spontaneous, were some things that have been rolling around inside of my head. We have for decades had, this sub-language, if we will, that goes into our retail side of our industry, where we've, either been made fun of, or we think it's funny ourselves that we call people lay downs, or we knock their what in the dirt,
Sure.
or let's take their head off, and all these things. The first presentation I ever did to a decent sized audience was, I think, Digital Dealer 2, and
Okay.
that presentation, I'll never forget it. It was internet thinking. Change your mind to change your results. And man, I was like all full of
You and I have talked about this. You can take that deck out,
Oh my goodness.
right, today,
Yes.
and submit, be chosen, and
great.
maybe change
great
great
stuff.
wording in the deck.
Yeah.
But
The visuals were, I was bad at building my own PowerPoints because I still like to do that. But in that, I had a slide that asked the audience a question. Why do we do it this way? And then the next slide were all these words: knock their dirt,
Sure.
lay down, take their head off, all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it was meant to kind of manipulate or encourage a real moment of emotion with the dealers in that room, so that I could say, if you can actually sleep well at night, like you literally can gently put your head on the pillow and sleep like a baby, and your heart isn't disturbed and your mind isn't corrupted, when you say those things about people that's someone's daughter, that's someone's grandmother, that's someone's mom.
Sure.
Do you know what I would want to do if some car dealer referred to my mom as a laydown? I can't tell you how many times I'd want to drill my elbows and knees into their face.
Sure.
Seriously, it's awful.
Big gross
categorized.
deals still make me
Right.
uncomfortable.
It's
but,
categorized, but I'm not against that, right? So I'm not against dealers making all the money they possibly can.
Sure, just don't say anything about it.
But
Just,
you
just
don't
call it a car deal.
Right.
Just call it a car deal.
So some people believe that we've absolutely moved completely past that, and no dealers are really like that. That's not true.
Sorry,
but,
not true. Thanks for playing.
But yeah, exactly. But there is something that's emerged, and the internet and now social media over the last several years has brought this to us in full force. And it's less so that the customer really is the laydown, because they're well informed, right? And
It's
if
the
they
most
spend their
educated
time-
consumer we've ever had.
forever.
Period.
Yep.
Not
in
even,
the
and
history
it's not
of-
even close.
So you have a consumer now that's more educated and more capable. If they want to spend the time to come in prepared, or do it all, with you before they walk to the dealership, or drive to the dealership.
Whatever.
Right, totally different, right? The ground rules are different. But all of the technology that's been pouring down the mountain, right, for 20 years,
There's a lot.
has left dealers in a state of, hey, do you know the difference between SEM and SEO? What? Sorry to use that accent. I don't know why I did that. But
You're from Texas, dude.
that's true.
Yeah.
Not originally, but
Doesn't matter.
I've been there
Doesn't
long
matter.
enough.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Like I tell
Been
everybody
there
from
long
Texas,
enough.
I got there as fast as I could.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
But you have an issue now where it's the dealers who are getting their heads taken off.
By the vendors, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
And there's a mixture of that sometimes where it's not so much that they want that to happen. It's that, and you might have been in the session when I said some things like, if you don't move beyond Gerber products, meaning baby food,
Yes.
so that you can stop eating
To steak.
you gotta get to steak. If you're not gonna graduate to solid food, you're a sitting duck for somebody that wants to come in and say, oh, do you want to see our geofencing technology? Right?
The words you've chosen today, it's almost like you got inside my
people
brain.
drive into your geofence, bling, there's a magic ad for you.
Or the big G, right? The big G is like, hey guys, the playbook, right? Here's the playbook.
Right.
How to spend money on our platform with us. Quick question, does anyone recommend spending big money there?
Oh, no.
No, they
Right.
don't, because they're fucking Google, dude.
Right.
Give me a break with that
Yes.
whole thing, okay? Like, we have to realize they're the biggest advertiser in the game.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Fine.
Them and Facebook.
You,
Yep.
you got an alternative? Because I don't. So how do I play with Google's one thing, but having me spend money via their playbook, that's going to be a hard pass for me.
When you have so that's an interesting little
Side
note to that. But when you have the advocacy and the instruction and the knowledge and the education about why you should use this service or this part of a service coming from the company that benefits most from the usage of all of those services, yet directly don't sell it, yet directly have no standards for how
it needs to be
the
done.
people who are selling the services on behalf of them, agencies.
Did we just start talking about the OEM? What just happened? It sounds like
no, there's a little of that too.
Sounds like we're talking about
that too.
Yeah, okay.
But on that side, when you have, and this isn't me. If you were in the session when I said this, if I were a dealer, the first place I would be wanting to prioritize my spend is with Google as an advertising platform and Facebook as an advertising platform. On the history of mankind, we've never had better advertising platforms than the one that Google and the one that Facebook built.
Agreed.
Genius, right? Let's build a search engine and tell people that they weren't the first search engine, they just were the best search engine.
And they kept being the best.
So to your point, who goes to Yahoo and Bing and, nobody. We go there. And then what does Google do in 2000? Well, we got everybody searching everything here. Let's start to put ads in front of them, right?
Sure.
And that has gotten more intelligent over the years to where a couple of years ago they rip out the right-hand rail. They prioritize.
Now they're getting rid of the green. They're turning it into like a light black.
Which they've been doing those little color variations for years.
Again,
it's awesome.
It is what it is.
Mobile ads, mobile organic,
mobile in general.
So good.
Yep.
And then the same thing with Facebook. They keep growing up and understanding that their audience isn't one where the search doesn't start there, right?
Nope.
But the journey certainly incorporates part of that. Like we go to Facebook to be willfully distracted.
It's car buying. It's car buying crowdsourcing is what I mean. You're basically going out there to see and hear, to look and see, and then you say, oh, okay, here we go, and now we start putting ads in there, and now it's in people's scroll. But again, it's still just more ads. Mm-hmm. It's still just more spend.
Yes.
The idea that when you said it, the idea of the laydown, and I'll wrap this up, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but the idea of the laydown for the dealer is frustrating to me because they believe they've been sold this idea that what they sign up for will fix what ails them. I promise you. You see, if you just sign up, you'll sell 3 to 5 more cars every month. Yeah, I know I'm the fourth vendor to say that, but just press hard, 3 copies.
Some people think that's the magic word. They're like, this will sell you more cars. Oh, really?
But technology itself will never do that.
No, never has.
Never will,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even with digital retail, it doesn't matter. It's all just more tech. Is that fair to say to you, where you're at?
Yeah, and if dealers don't know how to defend themselves, right? One of the things that you do with your business, I think there's a similarity to even Dealer Superhero, is you help a dealer become accountable, right?
Yeah.
Once they have that information, once they have that capability I say, don't be afraid of mirrors. I tell dealers all the time, don't be afraid of mirrors.
Because once I show you what's broken, you can't just stand there.
But your dealers in general, they can't actually hold a third-party lead company accountable if they're not accountable, right?
Agreed.
Right? If their process is broken, it doesn't exist, it's 29 minutes before the first personal response happens, how are you ever going to be able to defend yourself when your third-party lead provider rep comes in and says, hey, we're magical, we're awesome, your rates are going up by 3 times. What? Oh, but our volumes are there. Check that out, right? You are not going to be able to defend yourself by saying, yeah, but we actually execute a perfect process across your garbage leads every single month, and you're getting fired now. We don't care what the volume is, right?
Because we know the truth, right?
We know the truth.
And that's what we try to do with our service is basically take all that bullshit off the plate. Let the dealer focus on selling cars. Inevitably, 6 months after signing a client up recently, they will call me and they'll be like, Shaun, we just had a record month, dude. Thank you so much. You're the reason. And every time I'm like, no, I'm not. I actually have nothing to do with selling cars, neither do your vendors. Mm-hmm. You guys stop thinking it was an ad problem.
Right.
And start seeing it was a people problem.
Yeah.
And you addressed it.
And when dealers don't know that, they're getting their heads taken off.
Well,
they're the ones that are laying down.
I'm going to leave it at that. Is that all right with you?
I'm fine.
Buddy, you did a hell of a job. Thanks for coming on the show. As always, everyone, you'll find myself all over Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Shaun, what is your social network of choice? Where can people find you the most active?
Probably Facebook.
Probably Facebook.
Which is ranged a lot. You can also look up Dealer Superhero on Facebook. That's starting to become more active now that I have a little more freedom to do some stuff there with Dealer Superhero.
Good.
And so.
Find Shaun there. Find either one of us on LinkedIn. Don't forget, you can text or call the show 262-278-0157. We'll pass all those messages along to Shaun if you have them. And as always, thank you guys so much and have a wonderful day.